here is ChatGPT. The first thing I'm going to ask it is to provide some suggestions. I'm going to ask it to give me 5 books on increasing productivity. Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so it's come up with a whole bunch of books, some of which I recognize. Getting Things Done, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've read that one, as well as Atomic Habits, Deep Work, and The One Thing. Now, a couple other notes about this interface. You can actually press the copy button over there, the thumbs up or thumbs down. That's helpful because it gets feedback. Also, the regenerate response over here. If you don't like the response, click that and it will come up with a different response. You can do that anytime you don't particularly like one of its responses. You can select if it was better or worse or the same, and you can also navigate back and forth between the responses, right? So there was the first one, here's the second one. Personally, I like the first one better. Now, let's just say I want it to give me a bit of a summary on the 7 habits of highly effective people. Now, what I'm doing here, a thing to note is ChatGPT will remember the previous conversation, right? And you'll see this more and more as I go through this tutorial. I always ask follow-up questions because it remembers the conversation and you can continue to drill deeper and deeper, right? So keep that in mind. It's giving me here a nice succinct summary of that particular book. That's just a real basic overview of how to use the prompts. Okay, so let's now try some more interesting prompts. I'm going to try this here. Do you have any creative ideas for a baby gender reveal? Let's see what it comes up with. Hey, pretty good. So, colorful confetti, powder explosion, cupcakes with frosting, helium balloons that you pop. These are pretty good, but hey, let me continue this conversation. Let's say I'm a swimmer. Are there any ideas involving water? Now remember, as I said, ChatGPT remembers the conversation, so it already knows what I'm asking about when I enter this prompt, right? It's a continuation of the conversation. And look, you can already tell that it's actually pretty good. Hey, water balloons with colors in them, diving, water gun battles. Hey, this is pretty good, but look, I might not be happy with that. Let me regenerate that response. Let me see what else I can come up with. Oh, this is a good one. Underwater reveal. Parents jump into the pool together. Waterproof box filled with pink or blue balloons. Hey, this is pretty good. So, was this better? Yeah, I'm going to give it a thumbs up. That was better. These ideas are better. Now, hang on. Let me ask something else. What if the mother already knows the gender, but I don't? Let's see what it comes up with. All right, so sealed envelope, surprise reveal. No, I'm not too happy with these. Let's regenerate those. Hey, this is all right. Blindfold. Hidden envelopes. Yeah, see, I like this. It's giving you some interesting and relevant responses. Not too bad. Now to top it off, let's ask one more thing. I like the blindfold idea. Can you help me plan it step by step? Let's see if it's able to recognize what I mean and which idea it knows that I like. And give me some steps. So first choose a location, all right. Purchase a blindfold, all right. On the day, have the mother-to-be prepare a reveal item. Okay. When you're ready, ask the participant to put on a blindfold. Yeah, this is not bad. All right, so it's relevant results we're getting here. Not bad at all. Let's keep experimenting. Now we're going to go try something else, right? Let's say that I'm going to cook dinner tonight and I need a few different recipes and I feel like something vegetarian tonight. So I'm going to produce this prompt. Now, as you see, ChatGPT is going to give me a whole bunch of results. 5, in fact, because I've asked for it. So 5 different vegetarian options. Now, let's say that I like the first 2 and I want to explore them further. So let me add that prompt into the system. And this is an example of ChatGPT remembering the conversation, right? I'm just expanding on the initial request, and ChatGPT will remember its initial request and then elaborate on that. So there we go. It's given me a recipe for the first two, the vegetable stir fry and the lentil soup. Now I'm going to try and test something out here. Let's say that I don't have any celery and I need a replacement for it. That's in the lentil soup ingredients list. So I'm going to ask it if there are any replacements for the celery, see what it comes back with. A couple of good ideas there. And now what do I need to do next? I need to decide and basically be given a recipe to follow or an instruction set to follow. So I'm going to ask it that to give me a step-by-step instructions on how to create the lentil soup dish. Again, just elaborating on the initial conversation. And there we are. That's pretty good. It's given me a recipe there that I can follow. And of course, if I'm not happy with that, I can click on regenerate results and move from there. So there's one example of ChatGPT helping you in your real day-to-day lives. I'm going to now try and show you one of the great powers of ChatGPT, which is storytelling, and that can be abstract storytelling as well. And now this is really interesting, and I'll show you why in a couple of different prompts. So to start off with, I'm going to ask it to tell me a story about going skydiving with a celebrity that I'm a huge fan of. As you can see, it did come up with a story, and it's kind of not mentioned who that celebrity is, but it makes sense, you know. We've arrived at the airport, we've boarded a plane, we're plummeting towards the earth, and finally landed safely back on the ground. Now let's take that and let's use a continuation of this particular story, and let's ask it something slightly different. So let's say it was a celebrity and that person was a famous tennis player, Roger Federer. Let's rewrite that story and finish it with a joke that Roger tells me. So now I'm really curious, how does ChatGPT perform? Great, so it's showing me that, yep, it's weaved Roger Federer into the story, and it's weaved him in about Roger going first, diving out first out of the plane. He's landed safely just moments before me, and now here's the joke. He's turned around with a grin and said, well, that was quite a drop shot, wasn't it? That's not bad for an AI generated joke in the context of what I've asked it for. Not bad at all in my opinion. I expected a lot worse. All right, so the same story as a professional news article. That's what I'm going to ask it to write me. Let's see how it changes things up. Okay, so this is a good one. It's in the third person, Geneva, Switzerland. All right, as you can tell, it's a news article where he's asked me, a lucky fan, to skydive with him. After a short briefing, we've taken the plunge. Oh wow, it's even turned that joke. It's even added that joke into the news story itself. Pretty good. It's even added a quote from me. Wow. I never thought I'd get the chance to skydive with Roger Federer, the fan said. This is pretty good, and you're starting to see the power of ChatGPT. You can use this to write some abstract stories, which can be useful for a number of things. Generating YouTube videos, for example, getting ideas, removing writer's block. Hey, not a bad way to go about that. Next, I want to ask ChatGPT if it can write me a cover letter for a digital project manager role at, let's say, Atlassian. Now what I can see here is that it's starting to spit out some relevant information to digital marketing and software development. It kind of references my experience, cross-functional teams, experience as a digital project manager, as well as expertise in marketing, UX, etc. Now, what I might try here is to say, let's remove some of the items about UX and design, and let's place some emphasis on agile project management. What I can see is that it's covering items relevant to business agility and delivering agile projects. It's adding more metrics in there, which is interesting. And it is also talking about other skills such as communication, etc., etc. Now, let's say that I want to add 3 things that will set me apart from other candidates. And then what I can see is it's starting to kind of show me a few other items that I can add that will set me apart from other applicants. Strategic thinking and leadership. Hey, there's a couple of good ones. Now, of course, you're going to have to take this information and cross-reference it to yourself and see what's applicable. Next, I wanted to give me a template for a CV or resume, and here's where I found a limitation. I remember back in the past, ChatGPT used to spit out templates and drafts for resumes, but now it's interesting because it refuses to do that because it says that it doesn't have the personal information that it needs to create the work history. So instead, it kind of gives me a more generic kind of instruction on how to best prepare a CV. And that's interesting, right? I think we've found a limitation. I think we've found one of its boundaries, and it's not willing to cross that because it doesn't have the specific personal information and or know my work history. So there isn't too much I can do there. I will now ask it to give me some pros and cons. So I'll ask it to give me some pros and cons between using a home gym versus having a gym membership. See what it comes up with. It's a real conundrum I have at the moment. Okay, so home gym, pros, convenience, time saving, privacy, yeah, cost effective, that depends. Cons, limited equipment, very true, the space and lack of motivation, all of which are actually spot on. Gym membership pros, access to different equipment, group classes, professional trainers, support, and then we've got the cons. One of the things I really love is if I'm doing some research or I need to do research, I don't need to invest too much time. I can leverage ChatGPT to do that research for me. So for example, if I want to know 3 famous quotes from Jeff Bezos about running a business, I don't need to go and look for them and track them down, right? I can generate a response here. And as you can see, it's given me some pretty decent quotes from Jeff. Now I'll have to verify that that is from him, right? But it's given me 3 decent quotes that I can run with. Something that not too many people use ChatGPT for, but it's actually really powerful, is to provide or request that it gives you feedback on a particular item. So in this instance, I'm going to ask it to give me feedback for content that exists on my website. I'm just going to copy and paste some information from my website over here and see what it gives me. All right, so it's told me to use more specific costs instead of just dollar signs. Good one. It's told me that I'm providing social proof, but I would be even more effective if I could provide some examples or specific testimonials. That's a really good point. And then to address potential objections. So that's some really good pointers that it's already given me. So as you can see, it's kind of pretty helpful feedback coming from an AI. And so now I'm going to ask it to please help me rewrite this, but it said it needs, please provide the content. I don't think I was specific enough, so I'm going to say, can you please help me rewrite based on your feedback above? And there it's giving me another way to skin that piece of content from my website, and it's looking pretty decent. It's also giving me some placeholders for testimonials. If I don't like that, I can regenerate the response, see what else it comes up with. Okay, not bad. I actually think the first one was better. I'll just go back to the first one. I can copy all of that and then tweak it, adapt it. Again, I wouldn't copy and paste. I would put it in my own words and then throw it back on my website. So use that. It's really, really powerful. It's something that a lot of people don't really realize that they can do with ChatGPT. So give it a crack. Actually, I want to try something here. I want to also ask it, what other types of commands can I ask you to help edit my content? I want to ask ChatGPT how ChatGPT can help me, right? This is really interesting. It might tell me things I don't already know about how I can use the tool. I can get its help to rewrite or paraphrase. I can get its help to suggest synonyms, provide feedback on the tone and style, correct grammar, optimize for SEO. That's an interesting one. Generating topic ideas and answering questions. So that's pretty cool, right? Maybe let's also try to ask it, what else can it help me with in relation to updating my website? So there you go, content creation, editing, SEO. You can also ask it about user experience improvement. That's interesting. I haven't tried that one before. How would it know if you've got good design layout and good UX? That's one to experiment. Customer support. I can help you create chatbots and conversational interfaces. Wow. Okay. Here are some ways I'm going to have to experiment with ChatGPT to help me with my website. Can you help me code my homepage in HTML? All right, so it doesn't want to do it for me, but I'm sure there's a way we can get it to write some type of HTML code if you give it some form of structure. I think if I feed the right thing in, I might get it to write me some code. Okay, so it doesn't want to write code my homepage for me, but it is giving me an example to start with based on a header image, 3 blocks of text, and a contact form. I feel like I'm starting to ask it a little bit too much, but it's still helpful. Another cool use case for ChatGPT is assigning it a role for it to play. So what I mean is this example, let me use the role of a kid's storybook writer. You're a kid's storybook writer. Tell me a story about going skydiving with my favorite celebrity, sports celebrity, Roger Federer. It's a same scenario that I used earlier in this tutorial, right? Let's see what it spits out. So there you go. As you can see, once upon a time, young boy named Alex. Okay. One day while scrolling through social media, Alex came across a post from Federer. As you can see, it actually takes the form of a children's story. It's got that type of language. It's put itself in that persona. Are you ready to jump? Alex nodded, etc., etc. So this is pretty good so far. Now I want to flick the switch, right? What I want to do next is change the persona. Put it in the role of a news reporter. You're a news reporter. Tell me this story from that perspective. All right, so immediately let's see if it gets the persona right and the story right. So immediately, yep, it's got the persona right, bringing you a special story about a famous athlete, and it's also getting the story right. Yesterday, Federer made headlines again, invited a lucky fan, Alex, to go skydiving with him. So it's got the story right as well from that perspective, and that's pretty cool. It's remembered the story that it initially told, but it's flipped the switch and told me that from the perspective of the news reporter. Okay, I've shown you a lot in this tutorial. The last thing is how to get better responses. And there are 3 fundamental ways. Firstly, write clear and specific prompts. Now, if you write a prompt, you don't get the result you're after, and you've tried getting it to regenerate, just rephrase what you've written. Reread it, rephrase it, make it even clearer and more specific. Secondly, provide context or a scenario where it's applicable. So as you saw, in some of the examples, I provided some context, or I provided it with a role to play, etc. So where possible, give it a little bit of context, and then it will apply that context to a response that it gives you. And thirdly, this is the most fun part of it actually, ask follow-up questions. You saw in most of my examples, I followed up every response with a follow-up question to get more information and more relevant results based on what I was asking it. Hope you've learnt a lot. Please ask any questions in the comments and let me know what you find that I may not have already covered, because I am continually learning as well. Until next time, see you later.